and welcome to my video. So my name is Anne. I am from an accounting background, but I trained to teach English as a second language. So now I have combined them to help specifically accountants and business people with their English. So I developed this program. It's a program, it's brand new, because I think it's very scary when you have job interviews and then when you're a little bit worried because their culture is different and you have a different language, it makes it even more difficult. So I'm here to help you with that. So what will happen is we will go through different aspects of English speaking culture. I think I've already spoken about this. Different cultures have, just different little ways of doing things, and understanding English speaking cultures before you go in is one less thing you have to worry about when you go for a job interview, right? So it gives you that little bit more confidence and can make a positive impression if you know how to act in their environment. So it shows that you are culturally aware. Right. So let's think about just understanding the English speaking culture. So in the English speaking culture, it's individualism is a prominent cultural value. So what I mean by that is they like you to show that you are different, or they want to see that you are different or an individual. Some cultures prefer that you fit in and are happy to go with the crowd, whereas with the English culture, it's more, showing that you have something that's unique, So they expect you to promote your achievements. So not brag like, oh, I'm the best, but just, be proud of your achievements and not be afraid to speak about them, right? And also showing that uniqueness and how you can contribute to their organization. So that requires researching the company that you are, researching the company that you are going to interview with, and seeing how that will work. How can you as an individual contribute to that? And personal goals. They like to know that you have a personal goal, right? And that those goals align with the company. Yes. So that involves asking questions in the right way. That doesn't, not like, how much do I get paid and how much holiday do I get? But more, how can I progress within the company? Is there scope for me to advance in the company? Things like that. They like to know that you have personal goals to grow within the company. And they also like to see that you are independent, okay, that you can make decisions on your own, you can take initiative and work on your own when necessary. So that's what I mean by individualism. So let's talk about direct communication, in other words, speaking. Okay, what is expected from you is clear and concise responses, okay, not long essays. And I think this is where, as a language learner, as English as a second language, you don't need to use long, complicated words. You need to just keep your answers simple and within your comfort zone of your level of the language. So you don't need to be, use difficult English language. keep your language that what you're comfortable with, okay? And short answers, not a long essay. Just they ask the question, just answer that. Be very careful that you listen to the questions and you only answer that. Yeah, and honesty and transparency. So, you know, I know this is kind of common sense, but you also need to be honest if you see a challenge within the role that you're applying for, you know, and that you are honest about that. You don't need to say, oh, no, I can't do that. Or, never, you know, just say, this is a challenge, but I'm going to learn. Or, you know, again, asking the right questions, and being honest about your ability. Okay, this one, this is a big one, especially if you are a language learner. Don't be afraid to ask for clarification. Okay, if you didn't understand what the person said, they're not going to think you're stupid. It even works in English to English. I'm sure in your language as well. Sometimes you just don't quite get what the person's asking or saying, you know. So if you are not sure, it's okay to ask. Just learn the right way to ask things. Don't feel like they're going to think you're stupid if you didn't understand. It's better to ask if you didn't understand than to nod your head, which is what we go in the next one, and you don't understand, because then, yeah, that's not good. Yeah, it's better to be honest if you don't understand. So learn the right wording to ask. Okay. I'm going to go over this briefly because I think this is common sense, right? How to dress. So generally, we say it's better to be a little bit overdressed than underdressed. So I don't know if you know those words in English, you know, maybe a little bit smarter than casual. If you don't know, you know, when in doubt, opt for formal. Okay, and I think this is the most important. Research the company's culture and industry. Have a look at their website and their photos and see what everybody else is wearing, and, you know, where their offices are, and, you know, take note of that. I mean, for example, if tech companies, if you went for a job in a tech company, you know, software company or a gaming company, you probably would look a little bit out of place in a suit and tie, because in those environments, things are more casual. I know my son-in-law, I can't believe what he goes to work in. And he's a director of a big gaming company, you know. Yeah, that's something you need to research, is dressing right for the job. But if you're not sure, dress smart, right? And always, of course, and I think that's natural for everybody to know, clean, well-groomed, even if you're having an online interview, or it all matters, right? Non-verbal communication. Okay, so these are gestures, yes? So this I think is really, really important. We're going to speak about online interviews, but this can be different for different cultures, right? For example, handshakes. People judge you a lot by your handshake, okay? So in some cultures, like when I was in Thailand, when someone shook your hand, it was very sort of loose, and, you know, and I didn't like it. I think it was my culture. But then, you know, when you go to places like Germany, and, you know, like, wah, you know, they shake your hand like that. You know, in English speaking cultures, you need to be firm, but not too firm, but not limp either. You can tell a lot by a person's handshake, and it's very non-verbal. So make sure that you know, you get it just right. You know, this is face-to-face interviews, right? Now, eye contact. It's it's important. Okay, don't glare with your eyes not blinking, but don't look up and look down and look away too much. And language speakers tend to do that because they don't feel confident inside, so they tend to look away and look up. And we'll talk about that again, because it's even more important if you're having an online interview. So again, getting just the right amount, not staring at the person, but make sure you do eye contact. Okay, that connects it. That's your, like, yeah, me as a human being sees you as a human being. Yeah. And it just gives a good impression. Yeah. Facial expressions. Okay, so yeah, this is hard to remember when you're really nervous, but a genuine smile every now and again goes a long way, okay, to helping you feel confident, to helping you feel happy, and helping you connect, because you want to connect. You want that other person to like you. But be careful, don't smile at the wrong time. Okay, so if you didn't really understand what they said, don't smile, because maybe they didn't say something funny. Okay, so yeah, every now and again, remember to smile. Okay, your facial expressions, or to show interest. Again, it goes in with the eye contact, right? Nodding. Yeah, nodding. Also, when you don't, when you're not 100% sure of the language, nodding, yeah, just shows the person, yes, I'm listening. But don't nod if you're not sure, okay? Because you might nod and actually they're expecting to see, shaking your head or surprise. Yeah, so be careful with the nodding, but nodding tells the person, yes, I agree, I understand, I'm with you, okay? But only at the right time, okay? Now, personal space is an interesting one, okay? British people, especially, they don't like you too close. Yeah, so don't sit right next to somebody. You need to just keep a little bit of distance between you, but not too far away that you are not comfortable. So finding that personal space. If there are two interviewers in the room, look at their personal space and make sure you keep that same space. Yeah. That's quite important, to make sure that you are aware that that there is a personal space issue. Okay. That first question that you get, tell me about yourself, that personal introduction. This is so important. I cover this a lot in my program. What you say, this is your opportunity. Okay, so after this is like their second impression of you. Your first impression is how you carry yourself, and your nonverbal communication and the way you're dressed. And then the next impression you're going to make is your personal introduction. So then normally in all interviews, like, tell me about yourself, or could you introduce yourself, or something like that. And this is so important to get this right. Okay. So prepare in advance. This is something you need to write it down, and you need to learn it, and you need to say it so many times that you can say it like it's natural. So you learn it like a script, but you say it over and over and over, not word for word. Learn to say it naturally. Okay, so maybe keywords of what you want to say is better than actually writing a whole script, or write the whole script and just write down certain words to help you remember. Yeah. But this is something you can prepare for. Okay. So you start with a greeting. Again, your greeting is important. Hello, hi, depending on the culture of the company. Okay. Is it very formal? Is it good morning, or is it hi? But it's good. You need to start with that. Yes. Then, yeah, say your name clearly. If you are from another country, it's sometimes difficult for people to hear your name clearly. So just say it slowly for the interviewer, because English people are not good with names. I sometimes need to ask my clients to say their name a few times. Yeah. So it's better to just say it slowly and clearly. It makes sense to you, but not always to an English speaker. Yeah. Brief background. Yes, I'm from such and such a company, and I live in blah blah, and I'm married with 7 children or whatever. Yeah, just brief, not a long history, not your whole CV, just the most important things. Okay. Then your relevant experience. Again, this requires you to this requires you to know what they want, because you're going to say, bring out your experience according to what they want. Okay, so you'd have to research the job, and don't tell them about all the jobs you've had. Just tell them about the experience that you have that you want them to hear. Okay. It's like your summary. This is like the summary of your life. This is your whole life in 5 minutes, but only according to what they want to hear. So you might have 3 interviews, but you might say something different for each one, depending on what they want to hear. Okay, it's more important. What skills do they want for this job? What skills have I got from my previous jobs? Those are the things you talk about. Yeah, again, just a few sentences, not a lot, even 1 sentence. So you showcase your key skills that they want to hear. Okay. And of course, smile, enthusiasm. Okay. Now fake it until you make it. Okay. Pretend. So even if you don't feel enthusiastic, just pretend you are enthusiastic. Okay. This is like the next step in making a good impression. Active listening and turn taking. So what do I mean by turn taking? I mean you speak, they speak. And there's ways you can do that, and gestures you can make to say, okay, I'm finished speaking, now it's your turn. Yeah, and you listen for their things, and make sure, don't expect them to do all the talking, and don't try to do all the talking yourself. They ask a question, you answer, like we said in the beginning, concise, short, simple. Okay, within your comfort zone. Don't try and use big words that you are not comfortable with. You'll just get yourself into trouble. Okay, so show that you are interested. So again, this is tying up with the nonverbal communication. Make eye contact. If they ask you a question, look at them. Yeah. Also, another good thing is to lean slightly forward. That means I'm listening. Yes. Rather than sort of sitting back with your arms folded, or or even just, if you just had a little action of leaning forward, is like, oh, I'm interested in what you are saying, even if you're not. But even if you are, then that's a nonverbal communication that says, yes, I'm listening, I'm interested. Yeah. And if they are saying a lot, use these. See, I understand. Yes. Okay. There's many things you can do to express what you that you are listening. Yeah, it's a sign to say to them, I'm listening. Yes, I understand. You can also do another easy verbal cue is to repeat the interesting word. For example, Friday's off. Wow. Something like that. It shows that you are interested. Okay. again, this goes back, this is repeating something I said before. Don't be afraid to ask. It's better to ask if you are not sure than to not know what you need to know. Because people know, interviewers will know if they've said something and you don't understand. So this is a really good example. Could you provide an example? So that doesn't, you're not saying, oh, I didn't understand what you said. You can say, oh, could you please provide an example? That's a really good way of saying, well, asking them to clarify. Or could you please elaborate on that point? You don't need to say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. Those are really nice ways to ask for clarification if you're not sure. But ask, okay? Even English to English people have to ask questions. And when you're doing an interview in your own language, you have to ask questions. So it's no different. Don't worry that they'll think, you know, you don't know what they're talking about. These are really nice ways to do that. Another thing to do is to paraphrase. So if I understand correctly, you want someone who can blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Again, this shows engagement and interest. You are connecting with that person. You and them are communicating really. Okay. So that's a really good one. And then try not to interrupt. Listen for the cues for them to say when they finished speaking. Okay. And wait patiently. Listen for when they say, okay, I'm finished speaking, your turn now. Yeah. Don't interrupt. Okay. Oh, and another thing you can do is just take a little notebook and write down notes that shows you're listening and what they are saying is important to you. And especially if they say a word in English that you like, you can write it down. And then your brain will think about it while you go on with the interview. Yeah. And especially if it's something you don't understand, you can take a note and say, oh, okay, can you please elaborate on that? Or can you give an example of this? So yeah, nothing wrong with taking notes. And it's a good strategy for you to write down English words you didn't understand, because sometimes you do know, but writing it down will help you. Okay. And then express gratitude at the end. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you and things like that. You know, so there's a good chance you will have a video interview, right? So there's some things you need to. They make sense when I explain them, but you need to be more aware of these things when you have a video interview. So remember, they can only see from the shoulders up, or, you know, be aware of how much of you they can see. Okay. Now, this is difficult, and I had to practice this. Remember when you're in an interview to look into the camera, into your webcam, and not on the screen. Because if you look on the screen, it looks like you're looking down. Yes, you have to look into the camera, then you look like you're looking at them. They will feel like you. So I sometimes put a smiley face by my camera to remind myself to look in the camera and not at the person I can see on the screen, because that's not where they are. They're through the other side of the camera. And in fact, put something on the other side of your screen so that you look all the way through. Okay, then that's how it feels like you are looking at them. So again, that eye contact, which we've mentioned a few times. Gestures as well. Be aware of what they can see and what they can't see. So if you're using your hands and your hands are below the camera, they can't see that. Yeah. So it takes a little bit of concentration, you know. Open up a Teams or a Zoom call and look at yourself. in the camera and record yourself, yeah, and see what you see. Okay. Facial expressions are even more important in a video call because you don't have the rest of your body. You can lean forward, but you've only really got your face. Okay, so I had a client who I was practicing for interviews and kept looking up, and, you know, and looking down. And I suppose because he was practicing what he was saying, you've got to be aware that this is all they see is your face. Yeah. And so you need to make sure that it's always clear what you want to say. Smile at the right time, nod at the right time. Yeah. Posture is just as important online. Okay. You still have to sit up straight. You still have to conduct yourself as if you're with them in the room. Okay. Again, address appropriately, at least from the waist up. Yeah. But I think that if you have an interview, even if it's online, you should dress like you're going to the interview because that puts you in that frame of mind, right? Dress as if you're going to the interview. That's what I would suggest. And make sure that your background is plain and professional and you don't have children and dogs and cats and things flying around. Yeah. Be aware of your background and also make sure everything works. Do a test run with your Zoom, record yourself, look how you look and prepare yourself. Because it is a little bit different and you do have to do things a little bit differently to when you are face to face. The main thing is you don't have your body to give non-verbal cues.
Another words by my side. Normally when I had an interview with Teams, probably with Zoom, due to the fact that they are not the face-to-face interview physically, I have some problems based on some points that you summarized before. Probably you didn't understand fully based on the pronunciation, because in the last few months I had some interview with the Switzerland people or USA people or UK people. So based on the country where they live, they live, you can understand fully the pronunciation or not. And so due to this fact, probably when you answer to the request of the company, you didn't completely answer, you didn't prepare the fully and precise answer, and probably also the interviewer didn't understand which is your quality on the expression and interview and the facts that could be give the opportunity to accept the role. And so you didn't receive a good feedback after the interview.
Yeah. Yes. One thing you can do is, if when I work with people that have interviews, I always ask, where is your interviewer from? Are they British? Are they American? Are they Australian? Then you need to go and practice listening to that accent, so that you can get used to hearing that. But also, don't be afraid to ask for clarification. It's better to ask for clarification than to answer the question wrong. And also, you can prepare many answers. Make a list of all the possible questions and add to that as you go to each interview. Add to them and then prepare your answers. Yeah. Going in prepared is the main thing. That, for example, your introduction to yourself, they always ask that, right? So you can go in with that prepared, and then you can, the more the more questions you can prepare the answers to, the less that's going to happen, because you can answer many confidently. Then one or two that you don't understand, you can say, oh, can you please rephrase that question? They obviously know you're not English first language. Yeah. So don't be afraid to do that. Okay. I have developed a program. This is based on, you know, I had people coming to me and saying, oh, I've got an interview. Please, can you help me prepare? And so I did many of that. And then I thought, well, it's always the same thing, or almost the same thing. Let me put it together in a program to help other people. So I developed a program. So this takes you from job application all the way to the interview. Okay. Specifically around your needs. So if you have a specific job interview, we prepare for that one. Okay. So this is how it works. So there's six steps. Okay. So the first thing we do is we look at your CV. Yes. I look at your CV, see if I can improve it from a language point of view, see if there's a better way, obviously check grammar and things like that, and see if we can improve the wording in your CV so that it's the best. And also, if you have a specific job, I say your CV should be different for every job you go to. You need to rewrite your CV a little bit to highlight what those people want to see. I think I've got 11 or 12 different CVs, but that's because I've got accounting CVs and English teaching CVs, and you know, I change it for everyone based on what they want to know. So anyway, so that's the program. It's 6 steps. Okay. And then together we look at your LinkedIn bio, covering letter. Yes, introductory letter. It's kind of like the written part of tell me about yourself. It's very similar. And then in the next step, I've got I expand your vocabulary and grammar a little bit. So we look at specific grammar that you use in job interviews and vocabulary that you use to maybe just expand your vocabulary a little bit. So that's just one little lesson that we do together. And then in this one, we do that personal introduction and we make a list of all the possible questions that could be asked based on your job. You know, my last client was a financial controller, and so he, you know, he could guess what they were going to ask, or as many, you know, questions, and then we drafted answers together for that. So the more you can be prepared, there's less times that there's going to be problems. Okay. So yeah, your personal introduction, like I said, you write it and you learn it so you can say it naturally. We think of questions, you think of the answers, prepare the answers beforehand, even like a script if you must. It won't come across like a script because by the time you've said it so many times, you say it in a natural way. Yeah. And then the other part, you know, we spoke about showing engagement. You need to ask questions, right? But you can come across rude. So you need to think of good questions to ask that show that you are individual, that you are interested, not just like, oh, how much holiday do I get? You know, questions. And also, if they are burning questions, for example, is this job entirely in office or is there smart working? There's ways to ask that without sounding, you know, too demanding. So we work on that together based on the job that you're going for. If you don't have a particular job interview lined up, we do general ones based on your career and what could possibly come up. And then the final is practice. So this is role play. I'll be the interviewer we'll go through it and we'll do it over and over and over until you can do it naturally. Okay, so you're not going to be 100% better, okay, but you will be 80% better, and then there's less to worry about, because you have come prepared, and it also naturally improves your English, right? And you learn and you improve your English in a way that's really relevant to you. You don't even notice what you're learning. So it's not like classes where you're doing, lessons that are not relevant. Whatever you're learning is very relevant. So you make sure you remember. If you say, no, I don't need my CV, I don't need you to look at my CV, then I'd say, okay, let's take out the CV and do extra on this, or whatever you are really, really nervous about. Let's work on that. Or if you don't want to do this one, so I can change it around, but this is kind of like the whole package, right, from beginning to end. And yes, so there will be preparation for your side, because each of these will be an hour with me, but you will need to prepare. So I will tell you to draft your first impression. I will tell you to make a list of questions. I will also research based on your job what I think they'll ask. We'll make a list. If you make the answers at home, then we can just work on correcting the answers so that they are good answers. So I help you word them how they need to be. So that's kind of things. And then the final one, and we could, if you want, if you want to take one of these out, we can change it for an extra practice. Depends on what you want. Yeah. So, and we adapt it. But we look at specifically your job, your career, and the application and the company that you're going for. So it will help you. So the moment I have a special offer, okay, and these are the prices. You can also just choose one or two of these if you would rather, and pay per session, right? So if you don't want to take the 6, you can just pay for 3 or whatever and choose what you want to do with them. But they are very, personalized to you. I will need to, even if you don't do the CV, I will want to see your CV. I'll want to see the jobs adverts that you are applying for, so that we can get you comfortable and ready and confident to go in with that. So if you're interested, you can just message me on LinkedIn, and we can take it from there. So this is just how to get hold of me. This is my website. It's also on my LinkedIn bio. There is some information about the interview program on there, and about my other offers, my other programs that I do. This is my email address. You're more than welcome to email me if you want to. And just for this video, I have a certain amount of spaces that I'm offering with a further 10% off that price. So if you're interested, message me, say, yes, I watched your video, and can you offer me the 10%? And I will do my best, depending on how many places I have. So that's just about how I can help you. So that's it. Excellent. Well, good luck. And I'm here if anybody wants help with other English. I do have other programs. You can see them. Okay. Actually, the financial controller that I helped through his interview, he got the job, and then he was like, I've got a job in an English company. Then now I've got to speak English. I'm like, yes. So then we went through things like how to communicate. I think, he was going to have some staff under him how to communicate. Then he'd come to me and say, oh, I've got to write this letter and I've got to tell all these people to do this and that. And then we would write a letter together, and I'd help him with his language like that. So I helped him through the first few months of his job as well. So yeah, I'm here for all of that kind of thing.